left, mentioned that they're undefeated, kind of. They have a pair of draws. The second card hoarder team, Tenjum, Baugh, and Walker. On the right, we have Decandio, Stevens, and the Tan & Grace. But we'll be starting with the middle matchup. Gift Storm versus Eldrazi Tron. And this is why Modern, I think, just keeps being great. Neither of these were decks 1 year ago at all.
Right. For my money, I could do without Eldrazi in any capacity in Modern, but, you know, some people really like this stuff.
It's a black-green aggro up on the standard table. 4-color control versus Sultai Delver. That's going to be a drawn-out match between Walker and Grace. But we'll start here with Modern. Jacob starts on Serum Visions. And it does look like, you look at Todd Stevens' hand, see the 3 cards he shuffled to the front. It's got a power plant, a tower, and a mine. So that's good.
Those are some nice ones.
Tower go. And then joined, of course, by Matter Reshaper. You can do a turn 3 Matter Reshaper off Natural Tron, you know.
That's pretty good. If Baugh has a turn 2 Barrel or Electromancer, he can threaten a turn 3 kill.
Right, and this is the issue, right, is that these Storm decks that play Electromancers and Barrels, they're very weak to unlike a lot of Storm decks, they're kind of weak to a kill spell, but if you don't kill their Electromancers, this deck is very unfair.
In my experience, Eldrazi Tron always has Dismember here. Stevens without it, though.
You got to be concerned on Todd's side if your opponent's playing this kind of effect and you can't kill it.
It does take some specific things for Baugh to actually win on this turn.
Well, the dangerous part is that, say Baugh says Electromancer go, I'm not sure that Stevens has a play on the next turn. And if he gets to have 2 of those in play, he's certainly winning.
If Baugh has 2 rituals, a land, and a Gifts Ungiven, the game's over.
Okay, let's see if he does it. So a new take here on Storm. Much more ritual heavy. We see here, 3rd land from Baugh. What else can he have? He has at least 1 ritual.
If he's unable to go off, we could see, well, actually, a play that you frequently make in this spot, you could Merchant Scroll for Remand. Baugh does not have the main deck Remand. So we won't be able to do anything like leave that up to deal with the potential Thought-Knot Seer on this turn.
So it's just a land and a pass from Baugh. This goes back over to Todd Stevens. He draws his 3rd Tron piece, and now he has a lot of interaction. He's going to play Thought-Knot Seer and actually drew Dismember for the turn.
And the fact that Thought-Knot Seer exiles is pretty strong. The best thing that Storm can usually do in these kind of spots against a discard spell is just cast Gifts Ungiven in response, set up a Past in Flames, but Stevens just puts the Past in Flames in your hand and then exiles it with the Thought-Knot Seer.
Right. Well, if he only wants to Thought-Knot for 2 cards, and this is a big play. So because Jacob didn't, look at how the time on this fetch land worked. Jacob did it. If you want to make that Gifts in response to Thought-Knot play, Todd just blew him out.
Yeah. Dismember here means that he won't be able to cast any 4-mana spell here. Only 2 lands on the battlefield currently.
And if he'd main phase cracked that fetch land, he'd have an extra mana source to work with.
If you're Baugh, you're probably reasoning that if Stevens has Dismember, he casts it on turn 2 there.
Yeah, I mean, he would have had to top deck it, which Todd did.
And you know, that's going to happen sometimes.
Echoing Truth in Baugh's hand. Looks like Merchant Scroll, Echoing Truth, 2 Pyretic Rituals, and Sleight of Hand. So, the barrel is dismembered. Todd says, okay, you can get your land now. But then the Thought-Knot Seer trigger will resolve too. Big win here for Todd Stevens.
And once your opponent starts taxing your hand, you start to get into a situation where it's much harder to go for the Grape Shot kill. You start looking at needing to go for Empty the Warrens.
Echoing Truth, Sleight of Hand. It was actually, yeah, Gifts Ungiven, Merchant Scroll, Pyretic Ritual. So that fetch land misstep by Baugh, very punishing right now. Did not get to cast his Gifts Ungiven.
I'd be very surprised if Stevens took anything other than Gifts here.
Seems great.
The Merchant Scroll can, of course, find another Gifts Ungiven, but that's going to take a lot of time and mana.
I mean, Jacob can't cast Gifts yet.
He did have the option with the Dismember on the stack to Poetic Ritual and then cast Gifts Ungiven, but with the Thought-Knot Seer staring him down, that would just end up losing way too much equity.
And right now, the team on the right, all suited up, looking in a strong spot. Todd Stevens picking a card here. Brennan Decandio already winning the first game over Tenjum. And yeah, Gifts Ungiven is the selection for Todd Stevens. Draw for Baugh is Goblin Electromancer.
Again, Electromancer and Scroll for gifts here.
He'll play Electromancer. Looks like he will. Scroll for Gifts Ungiven. Any other finds, or is that just what it does?
That's just what it does. If he had access to Remand, you would have possibly seen him do that in turn 2, given that he, or turn 3 rather, given that he already had the Gifts Ungiven, sure, and that he doesn't have Remand in his deck.
Yeah, I guess he has the Echoing Truth, but that's already in his hand.
Right. Use that in case your opponent has something like main deck Relic of Progenitus. If you play against something like Hate Bearers, you need to bounce something like a Thalia.
Sure. We go back over to Todd Stevens. Does he have another way to control the board? It looks like he does. Endbringer, Walking Ballista, both in his hand.
Yeah, plenty of mana to use the Ballista to shoot down the Electromancer here.
Gets up to 10 mana. He will make Ballista on 5. Shoot down the Electromancer. And I like this play because there's 3 counters left on the Ballista. It means that if there's another Electromancer or Barrel, it's not going to matter. Todd can kill that one too.
Right. Baugh is looking at slim to none outs here.
Yeah, not to mention, because he has so much mana, he can keep pumping up that Ballista next turn. I believe he has him dead in 1 turn.
Right. Yeah, with that much mana and with the effect of Walking Ballista, he realistically couldn't even do anything if he had Empty the Warrens. He could only potentially make somewhere in the range of 6 to 10 goblins, and that just wouldn't be enough.
We'll look for something. Sleight of Hand from Baugh.
Basically just checking Stevens to see if he sees that he has lethal. Baugh does have the Echoing Truth in hand yet.
Okay, so he can try to maybe Echoing Truth the Ballista. I guess he's not dead then, just as it stands.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to bounce the Ballista. Todd will shoot 3 times, it looks like.
Must have another Ballista.
Sure does.
All right.
Jacob down to 9, down to 5, make it 0. Game 1, Todd Stevens.
And Todd has a lot of tools for this matchup in his sideboard. Storm is supposed to win game 1, and I don't mean necessarily that they're favored, but if they need to win this match, game 1 is very important.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times in these matchups against combo decks, Tron is not particularly favored game 1. You know, I think it's great for Todd that he hit and he had his natural Tron on turn 3, and if he could only choose 1 game to have it, game 1's the most important one.
Certainly.
It's the only time he's as fast as the combo decks is when he assembles it, and he was able to do it there.
Mm-hmm.
So you talk about sideboard, I want to look at some of the things he has. A full set of Surgical Extraction, 4 Chalice of the Void, 2 Ratchet Bombs, a Crucible, an All's Dust, a Spellskite, a Pithing Needle, and a Graft Digger's Cage. There is a ton here for Storm.
Yes, he'll be bringing in Chalice of the Void, though the goal will be to put it on 2. So he needs to set up for that because those are the spells that actually matter.
Now, I'm positive, though, if he does put it on 2, I guess, yeah, we'll get to Jacobs in a second. There are answers, but not many.
Right. He could bring in Ratchet Bomb to deal with Empty if that's what Jacob's plan is. That's fine. Graft Digger's Cage is excellent, and Surgical Extraction is very difficult to beat. It's particularly the way that Baugh's sideboarding. He's probably thinking a lot more about permanent-based hate and much less about needing to have anything like a counter spell. So the Surgicals are very powerful in this matchup. You can also just be caught even if you have a plan for it. You know, the deck has to keep in almost all of its combo pieces. You can't really board too much of that stuff out, so you can't afford to be fighting over surgical in every matchup.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot going on here. You do look at Baugh's side, 4 Blood Moon, 2 Empty the Warrens, Lightning Bolts, and then a bunch of one-ofs, some, this Goblin Bushwhacker, Goblin Chieftain, Reckless Bushwhacker package. He has one of each of those because of the card Gifts Ungiven, I assume?
Yeah. Yeah, you can find them all, and they're all ways to give your goblins haste.
Yeah, if you find, if you give some, put a Bushwhacker, a Chieftain, and another Bushwhacker in it, then I can always combo.
It's a cool package.
How do you feel about Blood Moon here against Eldrazi Tron?
Certainly turns off all of their lands. I don't have Blood Moon in my sideboard. Kind of the thing about it is some games it matters a lot, some games it doesn't matter at all. If you draw it in a turn where you're trying to set up a combo, it's kind of awkward, but it should buy you a lot of time anyway. With the tools that Stevens has available, particularly the Surgical Extraction, the Blood Moon doesn't accomplish as much as you necessarily want to. Stevens also has access to some Mind Stones, so you can produce colorless mana that way, and a couple basic wastes as well.
Right, so you can't just turn off the Thought-Knot Seers and Matter Reshapers.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be an uphill battle for Jacob Baugh, so that's going to put a lot of pressure on teammates, especially Andrew Tenjum, to rally in the standard match.
I really like this transformative, kind of aggressively empty package where you can find a way to just lethally empty in a turn.
Yeah, and maybe there will be some play to do that against Todd's deck.
If you identify that your opponent's on Surgical Extraction, going on this line starts to make a lot more sense, being heavier on empty, just because Surgical on any of your rituals at any point in your combo turn can really stop you from effectively comboing off.
The favorite part about Goblin Chieftain is that the Electromancer's a goblin. It's very important you get that extra point of damage.
Yeah, you just go on the beatdown plan.
Yeah, why not? So, for those of you watching us today, we, of course, will have all these rounds from the weekend available on our YouTube page over on Star City Games. But that's not the only thing we have. We have our new series, Split Second. We have our Versus videos, our Commander Versus videos, and Magic Online play testing. All of that in some of the most famous matches here on the SCG Tour. So we have those, and you can subscribe today over at youtube.com/Star City Games.
I really want to see a Goblin Chieftain here.
Well, I mean, and I think you might get that as well. And my guess would be, as you want to board up against this deck, that may be the plan that he's supposed to be doing.
The heavier on discard your opponent is, the more you start to favor the empty plan.
Yeah, I mean, generally what's happened is that you're playing a Storm deck historically, the reason you go board into Empty the Warrens in a lot of your matchups is that against a lot of different forms of disruption, it can be better. They're trying to get your graveyard, or they're trying to make you discard your hand.
Or counter spells as well.
Or counter spells. If you dump your hand on the second turn of the game, just turn 2, Ritual, Metamorphose, Ritual, empty, make 8 guys go.
Yep.
Sometimes that's enough to beat a lot of opponents. So it's certainly something we could see him try. Now, for Todd Stevens, he has been carrying the team this weekend, has not lost yet in Modern, the 30-year-old from Denton, Texas. Last year, he made his first Players' Championship, was his year-long goal, and a lot of that was on the back of these kind of big mana or prison-style strategies in Modern.
He's cast a lot of Chalice of the Void in his time.
Yeah, helped to innovate Bant Eldrazi, Red-White Prison, and then now Eldrazi Tron.
Fun piece of trivia, the button-up and tie clip that Brendan Decandio and the Tan and Grace are currently wearing were provided by Todd Stevens.
Well, he has 3. If your other 2 clips are dirty.
You gotta have a backup, and a backup for your backup. You can never be too prepared.
See, over in Legacy, Noah Walker and Tan and Grace still on the first game. Not as that surprising, that matchup. The 4-color control deck from Noah Walker versus Sultai Delver. It managed to be, I would expect to be a drawn-out one.
Yeah, Walker playing a deck that is extremely light on ways to actually win the game. So in the first game, I suppose in Legacy, it's really difficult to actually be able to maneuver to board your Delvers out. So being on the Delver deck is more of a liability unless you're able to actually come on in front, wasteland days, what have you, and steal games.
That the game is going this late is certainly not ideal for Tannen.
Right. And players looking at some opening hands for our Modern match here. Yeah, Baugh will be on the play on account of having lost game 1. And Stevens reaching for his deck, putting it back. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Baugh conferring with Noah Walker.
Yeah.
Would you keep this trash?
Be interested to see how much this Goblin, let's empty the Warren sideboard plan out of Jacob, can do in this matchup. And after some deliberation, it looks like both players are going back into the deck for mulligans.
And this iteration of Storm does not mulligan particularly well.
No, not at all. There's no engine cards. There's not, say, a card like Pyromancer Ascension. So much like Legacy Storm, you're trying to count up to a certain number, and every card counts here.
Yes, and especially post-sideboard when your opponent knows what's up. Stevens has played this matchup. I was talking to him earlier. It's a matchup that obviously you see a sideboard is a lot of tools for here. He feels comfortable in this matchup. He's going to be mulliganing into a hand that's functional against the combo.
Well, some good news for the guys over on the card hoarder side. The longer game 1 in Legacy does go toward the control deck. Noah Walker able to outmuscle Tan and Grace's Delver deck, and he's now up a game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's kind of thing that once you see the clock go past, past 40 and they're still playing, you're thinking, I think Noah's probably winning this game.
Delver decks have more ability to win long games than they're given credit for, but certainly I would swing the pendulum in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, Delver's, when Legacy, right, when you talk about the thing of a 4-color control deck versus a Delver deck, I mean, we're talking about, what, 25 cards of overlap between the two. So to say that one is strongly favored in the late game, well, that's not really totally honest. There's too much of the same thing for that to be true.
Legacy also has those games where both players only control one land for 12 turns as well.
Any deck is capable of that happening. Both players have kept on 6. It's a pair of Spire Bluff Canals to start the game for Baugh. For Stevens, it's a pair of Tron pieces. And if he turn 3 Trons Baugh again, that could be danger. Well, they're just going to trade lands. Can Todd finish the trio? Oh, it's the old 2 Tron pieces into Eldrazi Temple play. Gets Thought-Knot Seer. Now, Baugh has declined to play Electromancer for the first 2 turns.
Didn't want it to get hit by Dismember, and also if he produces an Empty of the Warrens, making sure you have it for the first ritual. It's just more spells. You would count the Dismember as well for Empty. Yeah,
so the Thought-Knot Seer takes a card out of Jacob's hand, and now Jacob is left with 4 rituals and a Manamorphose.
The one thing that Jacob could be doing here is just casting that Manamorphose to try to convert that into a Gifts Ungiven or an Empty of the Warrens.
This one might be over quick. Reality Smasher joins Thought-Knot Seer. Jacob's down to 11.
If he can scry into an Empty here.
Well, he has to. There's another Smasher in Todd's hand.
That's a problem.
Like, how many goblins would he have to make here?
He's actually just losing this game the quote-unquote honest way.
Yeah, turn 3 Thought-Knot, turn 4 Smasher, turn 5 Smasher. That's something we would see in Standard not too long ago. The thing I like about the Eldrazi Tron deck, sometimes finesse is overrated. Tron piece 1, Tron piece 2, shrug, Temple, haste, haste. We never finished Tron, but that was fine.
A little bit of deliberation over which ritual to cast first, though it was clear that Baugh has to go for a big turn here. Another Manamorphose off of Manamorphose. Draws here. Looks like a sleight of hand.
There's a lot. He's building up a lot of Storm, but I'm not sure he's going to have enough to deal with this second Smasher.
He's casting a lot of spells. If he finds Empty here, that would be very significant. Blood Moon into his sleight of hand cards here. That one's not going to matter. There's already 9 power on the battlefield for Stevens. And I believe Baugh has the ability to make enough mana, cast another Manamorphose, and cast this other sleight of hand as well. So we can see a few more cards to try to find that Empty.
He has more rituals. 3 desperate rituals, and this is a desperate time indeed.
Stevens has a Surgical Extraction. He could really mess this up, though it's not looking like that's happening.
So step 3 red mana here. We have a lot of, see, we're gonna get out the storm counter. It's still, Jacob's doing a lot this turn, but it's unclear how much this is gonna matter. We're at storm equals 5. Another Manamorphose. Actually go for another Desperate Ritual first, up to 4 red. Manamorphose turning red to blue. Storm is 7. Draw, looks like he found a land. So he'll go down 1 blue to cast Sleight of Hand. He's going to need a storm spell, though. And they don't play 4 empties.
No.
It's 1.
He sideboards up to 3 potentially.
Okay. I don't think he's going to get up to 20 Stormy. I don't think he can just find Grape Shot and end of this.
No.
Land. Desperate Rituals. That last card, Empty the Warrens. Okay, it is.
Okay, there's a lot of goblins.
There's a lot of Eldrazi on the other side. Like, a lot.
But look at all these goblins.
There's so many that we just have to get all the different races of goblins. Look at all these different types. We got the Kuldotha Rebirth goblins. We got the the Ponyback Brigade goblins. We got the Corset goblins.
18 goblins in all.
There's one of them from Return to Ravnica, I think. That's the one who's like on a building.
Is that 20 goblins now?
Yeah, it's going to be 20 goblins.
It's a high volume of goblins.
We need a goblin chieftain or bushwhacker. It didn't happen.
Couldn't have cast it anyway.
How many goblins can Todd Stevens murder? That's going to be the question. He's got Batterskull. So I actually feel like between these Reality Smashers and these like, unclear if Jacob actually, this is enough goblins.
Yeah.
I know that's like kind of gross.
He's probably going to need one of those lords, and it can't be Reckless Bushwhacker because he's out of spells. So assuming that he has Chieftain and Goblin Bushwhacker in hand, and assuming that that math even works out, that only gets it up to 40. So yeah, I think that that would be lethal. But he has to both have those cards in his deck and produce one right now. You see a 9 power lifelink attack. Stevens has enough mana to cast and equip Batterskull.
As soon as, so he casts and equips Batterskull to the Smasher, and that's exactly what he wants to be doing here. Yeah, 10 mana. So he's got this 9/9 Trample Vigilance lifelink. You know, he's not going to be able to race that. So he attacks, and Jacob will block
with 20
blockers. Okay. And I like Todd selecting which ones to kill.
Let's see, this one's ugly. I don't like this one.
Those two, yeah.
Get that one out of there.
11 goblins remain. Todd Stevens up to 29. He only takes 10. Yeah, this is definitely not enough damage. And if Jacob does not find a Chieftain or a Bushwhacker now, he's going to lose basically the rest of his team.
Yep.
What do we get? It's another. Actually, if he finds a Chieftain, it's actually still not enough damage, Ryan. It's really close. Did he do it?
It takes a couple draw steps, but some rituals, say Gifts Ungiven, and being able to pass in Flames and empty the Warrens. He needs to get a little bit more mana to make that actually happen.
Just passes the turn, but he's going to lose just about his whole board here. And Todd Stevens, another Reality Smasher, equips another Batterskull to it. Another. I love these Tron decks. They just look at this play. Just going to keep spending 10 mana to do big things. All right, another 9/9 Trample Vigilance lifelink. Another 9 goblins.
Apparently, lands that produce more than 1 mana
are good.
Are powerful.
Todd goes up to 38. So now Jacob's going to have to reset this whole thing. He's going to have to get the mana to do Past in Flames, start all over, make all these goblins again, which actually this is possible. But he does not have very many turns to do it. Looks like he might find a Vandal Blast here. It gets rid of the Batterskull.
Hooray!
No, actually, Ryan,
There's this tower. Is that a land?
I was gonna say Todd had 1 mana up, but no, he has 3.
Is that a land that produces more than 1 mana when you tap it?
Even more than 2. It taps for 3. So it's like there's some good lands in history have tapped for 3 mana. Basically just 1. Just Workshop.
Sometimes Cradle and Academy tap for 3.
That's true. Nothing yet for Baugh. Does not have. I guess he has some number of turns here. The trample threats are gone.
I suppose Lotus Veil kind of sucks. So there's that.
Seagate Wreckage is what Todd Stevens will get. Does not play Sanctum of Ugin.
No need. It's not really casting that many spells. I suppose the Walking Ballista changed the equation a little bit, where you might want to include that in the deck.
Mind Stone, Seagate Wreckage taps to draw a card. Ratchet Bomb, that is great. If you were thinking about winning with those Empty the Warrens kills, I don't know that you can do it through this Ratchet Bomb. Or he'll just get rid of the blockers. Uses it to kill 1 goblin. He's going to equip the Batter Skull and swing in for 8.
Yeah, Stevens has so much life that he can totally frivolously just toss that Ratchet Bomb around.
Doesn't find nothing. Goes up to 42. Jacob down to 3. This is the last shot for Baugh. Barrel will start the turn. Maybe, does he have a chance here? Is this, I guess he'd need to get a real big combo turn.
If he has a Ritual, Manamorphose into Past in Flames. I believe he has 1 Manamorphose yet in his deck. He's cast 3, I want to say.
But if he can do that, he needs to Past in Flames with 1 mana up.
Yes.
To start the chain all over again. But his graveyard is actually very good right now.
Even 1 Ritual gives him access to Past in Flames with 1 mana floating.
And now some extra pressure on Jacob Baugh. Brennan Decandio in 3 defeats Andrew Tenjum in the green-black mirror. So now if Jacob can't pull this game out, that's going to be the round.
And this last card was not Past in Flames. It was just another empty.
Well, it gives him a lot of time, a lot of chump blockers, actually.
Certainly.
Maybe he's fine for the time being.
He's dead to a Walking Ballista at any point from here.
Yep. See, Todd goes ahead and cracks the Mind Stone. Plays Chalice of the Void. Looks like, 2, I think is what he wants to pick. Yeah, it'll be 2. Taps Seagate Wreckage. All right, Todd goes to 50. Jacob loses a Goblin.
So Baugh's sideboard contains Shattering Spree, Vandal Blast, and Wipe Away, and that's what he's looking at ways to deal with this Chalice.
So first he has to get that. Then he's got to actually put together a really big combo turn.
Just having Past in Flames, his graveyard is full enough to take care of that. So
we can do it from 50 is not a... And sometimes in Storm decks, there's actually a number at which they start getting out of range of your deck, but 50's not it.
Well, he can't Grape Shot, but he has both Empty the Warrens, and on his combo turn, he'd be able to cast both, and they'd be something in the order of 30 goblins each.
So okay, then 60. So it's more like 200 at which you can't win anymore.
Well,
200 life.
Attack with the goblins a few times. Uh-oh.
Surgical Extraction on Empty the Warrens from Todd.
All right, we're dead.
Okay. Can you Grape Shot up to 50?
I've Grape Shotted for something in the range of 35, and I was not maximizing. Like, I was just confident I would be able to get there.
Yeah, well, he's got 27 spells in the deck, and in theory, he could try to cast them twice. Yeah, Todd's actually life gained the way out of Grape Shot, and that is going to be the match. Todd Stevens 2-0 over Jacob Baugh. Todd continuing his run today in the middle seat, showing being strong here. He'll get the win for his teammates.
Yeah, Eldrazi looking mighty good here. One thing for Baugh, when you have that many rituals already in your graveyard, that makes going for the Grape Shot kill a lot more tenuous.
Yeah. And we forgot about that. There were 4 surgicals in Todd's sideboard.
Yes. Surgical Extraction of the possible hate options available in Modern is one of the most powerful.
Yeah, it's so hard to play around. It's 0 mana. So, yeah, I mean, you'd have to board something like Dispel, but it's really rough against the deck.
And Baugh's strategy seemed to be just to very proactively empty for whatever number he could get. He actually made quite a lot of goblins when he went for it there. But it wasn't enough. Certainly Batterskull made it impossible for that race to be effective.
All right, so that card hoarder team falls out of the undefeated bracket and maybe out of day 2. We'll see how they do in the last round and how things shake up. That's going to be it for round number 8, but we do have one more round remaining. We're going to look at some teams trying to make that cut into day 2. Only 20 or so teams are going to make it. In the meantime, over in the sideboard, we have the team of Patrick Sullivan. We saw them round 1. He's burning things up in Legacy. He's got his old school team. He's over with Nick Miller. We'll go there and then join us as we finish the day with round number 9.